Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Fly With Us podcast. This podcast is bringing the art of conversation, self-love, self-care, mental health care and protection, life lessons, love lessons, and everything in between. Today's topic will include relationships, our mindfulness minute. We will end with our self-care assignment and brain science. I'm Lady Bounce.
And I'm A.Slate.
So let's get into this. Okay, so all over Facebook, that conversation between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin is starting to circulate again. And they're talking about male-female relationships. So, you laugh because it's complicated.
Most definitely.
So I took some notes. But first, you watched part of it. Mm-hmm. What did you get from it? Anything stick out?
Not right now. I'm going to wait.
Okay, so maybe I'll tell you what stuck out to me and then you can chime in. Okay, so one of the things that she said was talking about how men wear the mask all day when they're out in the world. And then when they come home and they take the mask off and they treat the woman badly or not treat her as good as they do the outside world. So you shucking and jiving for everybody else, but when you come home, I gotta take less than your best, or I get whatever's left, and I don't necessarily deserve that because I'm out in the world too, and I'm fighting this battle too. So I guess my issue, my question is, how do we create a safe space for each other when we come home from being out in that world? So that safe space where you can be a man and I can be a woman and just be that and be love, as opposed to you taking out on me all the drama and the beat down that you've gotten all day long.
Yeah, that kind of goes into that. That can go both ways. First of all, that can go both ways. You can have the woman who's the beautiful, sweet, easy to talk to and work with, and then she come home and she a total witch.
Right.
So that can go both ways, but me sitting here, it makes me think of toxic femininity and toxic masculinity. There has to be some kind of a mutual love and respect for each other, and you have to be open to being honest with each other. And not wear the mask. You can't wear the mask. Take those covers off. For example, one way to be, the man ain't got to flex all the time. He should feel safe with his woman to cry and to be sensitive and be all those things.
I ain't no punk. I ain't crying.
Right. She should let him know, baby, it's all right. Come and lay your head on my lap. Like Tony said, lay your head on my pillow. Like that kind of love. For me. Yeah, it just has to be a mutual respect and love for one another and be honest and open with each other. No fronting,
I like that. So then something else that she said, and she talked about when you have a relationship with somebody and you have a baby, and then the man disappears because he can't provide. He can't have this massive amount of money that he thinks he's supposed to have, because men are supposed to be the providers and they're supposed to come correct with all of these things. And she said, I don't need you to come with the crib. Right. The baby's gonna sleep somewhere. Right. The baby's gonna eat something. I need you. Right. I need a man. I need the man that you were before the baby entered the picture. Because obviously there was something there that made you want to lay with me, and now we have this child. Well, but now you left me because you feel like
we have to be understanding, more understanding, as men and women, and you have to be mindful of the fact that fear is real to some people. So who knows why the men run? But he could be afraid. Maybe he think he's inadequate, but then we have to also pay attention to what society places upon a person. Just because a woman has a baby, first of all, every woman doesn't have that natural maternal instinct. Every woman doesn't want to be a mommy, and every man don't know what it is to be a father. We got so many men especially young men that I know personally right now, they grew up without fathers, so they don't know what it is to be. You have to meet people where they are and understand and be willing to grow and learn together.
So then, if I'm a man who didn't have a dad, so I don't know how to be a dad, so I run, and I keep running and I keep running, what is it that I guess as women that we could do or should do to help him feel like he doesn't have to run and keep
That's a really good
running?
question. That's a really good question. As a woman myself, if I were the one in that situation, first of all, I would just be flat out honest with him. Like, look, dude, I know this is scary. I know you scared. Right. I'm afraid too, but I think we can get through this better together versus apart. And you keep running, it's going to hit you dead in the face. You know, you're going to have to come up on this 18-year-old child one day. And God forbid, it's a young man. Okay? So we have to let them know that it's okay to be vulnerable. Let them know it's okay to say, I don't know what to do and I'm afraid. We have to make them not shun or punish them or talk bad about them for that, but we have to do what we can to make them know, let them know that we can get through it.
So then how do we do that? I mean, I'm telling you, I love you. I'm going to be here for you. We got this baby. It's all love. It's going to be great. If we stick together, we can make it. And he doesn't believe that.
Give him the other options. Co-parenting is a real thing. You can go and do your own thing, but hey, you can come and pick up. You can pick him up on certain days. You can come and spend time with him. You can watch the game with him.
Until you get another woman.
Now they do that sometimes, but sometimes maybe that's what they take, because maybe that's what it takes. Maybe that woman is a little more maybe that woman actually knows what to do to make him feel comfortable going to get his child. You know,
because if you got your new chick can't be around my son. See, your new chick can't be around my daughter.
I gotta be honest, I can't stand those types. I can't stand those types because the only one that gets hurt in those situations is the child. If the child is the focus, there it would be easier to find a way. But I can't say this is exactly what you should do. It's a person to person thing. You have to know the person. You have to know the person to know what will work to help them through that.
I think even before you know the person, though, you have to know yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
So you have to know what your boundaries are. What are your no-nos? What are your absolute deal breakers?
My deal breaker is if I know you that cat that's about to run out and I'm pregnant. Nah, but and another thing, like, okay, use your resources, use your village. Okay,
right.
There's other people in the community. Like, say for example, where I'm at, where I live, we have a patriarch in our neighborhood named Mr. Will. Like, look, you need to holler at Mr. Will. He can help you. He's a part of a huge fraternity of brothers and a brotherhood called the Qs. I mean, there's plenty of people there. There's fathership and parenting classes within the community. I'm sure we can go like to Wesleyan Center, guide him or her to these places and these people, and something will work. So I had to go back to that. Yeah, but we have to work harder with that. Where was we at?
I can't ask for help because that's a sign of weakness, and I'm a man, so I'm supposed to know it. Or I'm a woman, I'm a mother, so I'm automatically supposed to know these things. So I can't go ask for help. I can't go see Mr. Will, because even though Mr. Will might tell me,
that's where you got to know your boundaries and your limitations. I'm not about to invest too much of this time into trying to hold your hand, drag you along. That ain't for me to do. That I got a baby, not a whole baby. I have a child, a life right here. That I need to be pouring into, and I still got to worry about me at the same time. So I'm going to offer you this here, and then I'm going to keep it moving. That's how you support him in that. Now, when you want to keep going back, my coach, he told me to make sure we support and not help. I can't help him with that. I can support him in that, but then I still have to do work with my child and myself. So if he can't do this and he can't do that, he on his own. And then I have to, in that sense, put some male role models, some positive male role models in my son's or my daughter's face for them
Right.
to see and know this is what that looks like. This is what this feels like. Okay, so that's where I'm at on that.
So, you know, I me and Jay have the conversation often about programming, and I think when I listen to the radio, I get so annoyed. So what I have found myself doing is either listening to like old school music or like listening to CDs in my car. I have to turn off the radio because these songs on the radio will have you thinking that it's okay.
Unless you listening to WDAO.
Right.
You're not listening to Deo.
So I was cooking something to eat today, and I had the radio on. I usually plug my cell phone up to the radio or my iPod. Yeah, I'm old.
Okay.
But so today I listened to the radio, and this song came on, and the whole time the song is on, I'm like, I hate this song.
What's the song? Don't say it. Baby, if it has anything to do with your Facebook post recently, I'm gonna feel some type of way. What song is it?
I don't even know the girl's name. Her name is Queen.
Okay.
Queen somebody.
I don't know her.
But the song is called Medicine, where she's talking about all these things that this man has done to her, and how would he like it if she did it back?
I've heard it, and I gotta tell you, I'm always the one here. I like it.
I don't like it.
I like it. She say, how would you like it if I do the things you do? And she goes on and on and on. That's a tit for tat. I like the song. It's probably because it's catchy.
It's right. And that's the thing, that those catchy songs will have you thinking and believing that this is okay. The same as Beyonce had If I Were a Boy, and then Sierra had Like a Boy. First of all, it's the same song. How many times we gonna make the same song?
But then too, another, to take it a step further, I'm not a tit for tat kind of person. I'm not gonna be that. But then too, we got those songs that have women thinking you're supposed to be a kept woman, in the sense that the man is supposed to take care of you, the man is supposed to do this, and the man is supposed to do that. And then again, we got to where we have these songs where a man is supposed to be super strong and super tough and this, that, and the other, have all this money. So
which brings
programming
me to the next song that I often hear and cannot stand, and people laugh at me when I say I don't like it. But that the Tank song, what
is happening here? Okay, first of all, I was listening to that on the way here.
Tank has only had like 2 songs ever that
I'm like serious,
like that are okay. But my problem with the song, because as a person who works with young people, and young people who don't often get their information about sex, love, and relationships from the best positive of places. True. I don't want any kid listening to this thinking that the way to a woman's heart is to have sex with her and to beat it up.
That is when, and he got the song out called Dirty, where he definitely talks about that, and he said that's what he's going to do. I like the song. Sue me.
I'm not going to sue you.
Woman.
but as an adult, you have what we call the power of discernment.
Yeah.
To know that it is a song. To know you've had enough relationships in your life to know that's not real life. But then too, as an adult, it is our responsibility, it is our duty, it is our obligation to make sure that when we can, and when we're not out of pocket, out of place, or what have you, we let them know what is acceptable, what is okay. That's what we ought to be doing as elders, or as teachers. That's what we ought to be doing. So and then too, to double back a little bit, how many kids really listening to the radio? Well, and not a lot listen to the actual radio, but those are just some songs. Like those are just R&B songs that like when I listen to them, I'm like, these are problematic lyrics.
And that's funny too, because their R&B is nothing like our R&B.
And then when I am not a fan of the rap music that they listen to, but I listen to it just so I can be familiar, so I have a frame of reference. And when I hear the songs that they listen to, I'm like, Oh my God.
Yeah, I asked my he's going to be 17 this year. I asked my son, he's 16 now. What are some of the songs? I was asking him for a class. I said, what are some of the songs you listen to? Do y'all have any positive songs that I can listen to see what y'all listening to? I mean, and he struggled finding me something that was no profanity, no talk about guns or drugs. It was mainly drugs was the thing that they were really, really talking about. But one song though that they had, it was called "Murder on My Mind," and it really, really resonated with me. There was a guy on there rapping, and he's rapping about all these guns, AK-47, Glocks, and 9s, and that he keeps saying that over and over. But he had, it's a little off topic though, but he had accidentally killed his friend. And then people were shunning him. So when we're worried about them listening to things about that they're hypersexual, there's some other things that they're listening to that are far more in depth than that. So we just have to be listening to what they're listening to, and we have to just go back and let them know this is cool, this is probably not.
Right. Know? So in that with the programming, we have to, we're good mothers in terms of we monitor what our children are watching and what they're listening to, and then we're there to explain to them that this is just a song, this is entertainment, this is not real life. Relationships don't work this way. But the problem, I guess, that I see is that so many of these young mothers and even these fathers, they swoon to these songs, and their children are watching them, and their children are like, well, this is how relationships are. So now we keep this whole jacked up
cycle
dynamic of relationships that are messed up. So I guess we need to, so here's the question. How do we counteract some of the programming? Like when they watching Love and Hip Hop and
See, I don't
the Real Housewives of Ghettotopia, as I call it.
I know. Okay, take the mask off. My kids don't know I like those songs. How about that?
They do now.
They do now. But they my kids are older. They do know, like, she listens to some ratchet stuff sometimes. They know that. But for the most part, when they hear me listening to something, it's neo soul, or they hear my meditation music, they hear these things, so they know this is not who I am, and this is not what I don't live by these things. But I am very liberal in what my kids listen to and what they see. I just always reintroduce this and that, these teachings and these.
Right, because my students say to me, they're like, well, you mean to tell me y'all didn't have no songs about sex when you was a kid?
We had plenty.
And they didn't have songs about violence? And I'm like, we had plenty. But the difference is that somehow we either knew or we had people around us that were like, this isn't real life.
For me, what the difference was, when I listened to whatever I listened to, I had mom and I also had grandparents. It's almost like you don't have the elders, the grandparents.
Yeah, there's no
anymore.
Grandparents no more.
So again, it goes to what they're listening to, what they're watching, and what they're actually seeing within their family structure. Right. And within their community. So we just have to make sure that what we're reflecting and showing them is different, because I have it in one of my poems, learning to unlearn is unlikely, yet it yields promise like the land. Like, so we have to just kind of deprogram by introducing something new at such a rate where they like, hey, what is this? They keep talking about this. They keep, like, when they kept saying stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. And all of a sudden it became catchy and trendy. Right. Like, but people really aren't conscious.
Right.
So
right. You're awake, but you're not woke.
Yeah. So, I mean, you just got to keep bringing it to the forefront for them. I mean, yeah.
Right. And I've done some, as a teacher, now, especially last year and this year, because I have high school kids. I have played for my students some of the songs from our era with problematic lyrics, and explain to them the difference in those problematic lyrics from back then versus the problematic lyrics of now. and in TV shows, because like one of my favorite songs, like when I'm having like a bad day, like What's Beef by Biggie, that was like the joint. But there's some lines in there and I'm like, yo, you crossed the line. However, I had enough of the other kinds of music, rap music, R&B music, to help filter that out.
And then we gotta still think, like, you think of Nikki Giovanni and Baldwin's discussion even back then, and then here we are meeting these things again now, 30 years later. We're still having the same conversation. We still have to remember that these are children, yes, and because we're adults, we have to walk them through that, because when we were 17, our parents were shaking their head at us too. We have to allow them room to grow.
Yeah, because my mom used to be like, what is that? Turn that mess off.
Yeah, we have to allow them room to grow, but at the same time be a constant source of water and light. So yeah, in that sense, and then I think we'll be okay if we do that. So yeah, so that's where we're at on that music. But I'm gonna go up a little bit to some manners here real quick about since we're talking about what the men and women, how they're portrayed as far as relationships, in this How to Be a Gentleman book by John Bridges. It's a little dated.
It's very dated.
According to How to Be a Gentleman and How to Be a Lady, I'm not what they consider to be a lady. I have some ladylike ways though. But okay, it says How to Be a Gentleman. A gentleman knows that the gym is a place for working out, not merely a place for socializing, and certainly not a place for showing off.
It's not a meat market?
It's not a meat market.
What you mean?
It's not a meat market. If the kids are listening, great pun, Nikki. That's a pun. Big puns over here. And then we have in How to Be a Lady, when life deals bad breaks, a lady rises above them. So in accordance with the what we were just talking about, you have these rules. A lady's supposed to just rise above it. Okay, he couldn't pay my bills. No, a man ain't supposed to pay all your bills. No. And you do not have to have heels on to be a lady. You get the short end of the stick. The man left you with the baby there. Mama, keep it moving. Keep it moving. Do what you have to do, and hope for the best. And fellas, you do not have to work out, show your muscles, flex all the time. There are other ways to flex. You don't have to talk about how much girth you are holding and your jeans are under your shirt. We don't need to know that. Show me, flex on me how intelligent you are. Show me where you started your business at. How many kids are you mentoring? How many young men are you teaching to be successful, educated, healthy men? And same for the sisters. So yeah, this conversation could go on and on, but yeah, we just have to do our part. We just have to do our part.
So in doing our part, I'm always solution oriented.
All right.
We got problems.
No such thing as problems, only solutions. My life coach taught me that, and my mentor.
So only solutions that we haven't discovered yet. So some solutions for your relationships, for yourself, for your relationship with yourself. Because if we are going to talk about this being the Fly With Us podcast and the first loving yourself. So I would like for you, as well, I guess let me do the mindfulness minute first. Okay. So we'll do that. So in loving yourself, it's about being mindful. So being mindful simply means being aware of the present. Don't just smile at your spouse. Notice the color of his eyes or her eyes, her hair. Don't just eat your sandwich. Yes, don't just eat your sandwich and wolf it down because you're hungry. Take time to savor those bites and to be present in mind of I am chewing. I am providing this nourishment for my body. And even if you have a cheat day off your keto diet or your low carb this and no fat that, be mindful in what you're eating and enjoy what you're eating. So many times we wolf down our food in a hurry that we don't take the time to actually be mindful that we're eating. We do things without thinking. We breathe without thinking. We drive. How many times have you ever driven to work or you're driven to home, and then you get there and you don't even remember which route you took to get home because you're not being present in the moment. So this here talks about this Vietnamese Buddhist monk and meditation guru Thich Nhat Hanh. Love that man. He teaches us that mindfulness is enjoying life now. He encourages beginners to start with an orange, a particular juicy and sweet fruit. Smell the orange as you open it. Feel the peel against your hand. Savor the exploding juice inside your mouth as you take a bite. Think of nothing in the world but that orange. This teaches peace, being present, being mindful. So as we're being mindful, Miss Slate, can you tell us what our self-care assignment is going to be for this week?
Our self-care assignment for this week, oh yes. You had a long day or a long week at work. If you're a teacher, the kids been running all around. I mean, if you a chef, you are so sick of seeing them mushrooms. You're tired. This is unwinding when you get home. Whether you go home to a partner, a spouse, or you go home to just your children, or you go home alone. Remember, you have to first love yourself. Unwind when you get home. It says you may have a variety of ways to unwind at the end of a busy workday. For example, you may like to have a cup of tea or listen to some music. Whatever it is, it's important for you to have a ritual conducive to unwinding. Let it be something you look forward to, but that does not create an additional stress in your life, like from trying to pay for bills or keeping the house clean. No, keep it simple but pleasurable. The transition from a high-stress workday to your home life needs carved out time and space if possible. And then Lady Bounce also has something to add to that on some brain science now. So we got our mindfulness minute. Take some time to stay present and get in the now. You don't have to worry about what's going to happen next week, next month, next year. Stay present. Self-care, unwind, de-escalate. And now we're going to have a little bit of brain science.
So, as some of you know, or you'll find out as you listen to us more, in my day job, my day job, I am an intervention specialist. I take my job and my career very seriously. I take time to study the brain, to study the way that the brain works, and it makes me more effective at my job. It makes me better at being able to teach my students, teach the teachers how to teach my students.
I appreciate you for that.
And so when I'm having conversations with my friends, I often they will say something and it will trigger a thought, and I'll say, well, what the brain is set up as this. And so the whole brain science came as a result of that, because it's just something that I do naturally when I go in my daily life and I do things. I'm always thinking it with the brain in mind, because once you get this kind of knowledge and you do it so much, it does become second nature.
Praise God.
Praise God. So one of the things that I encounter a lot that bothers me, which made me want to study it more, is about children and conversations. So there's this poem.
Oh, let me do that poem.
Do the poem.
Come on, poet, do that poem.
Come on, poet. Let me get the snaps. There we go.
Students can't talk in class. They can't talk in the hall. They can't talk in the cafeteria. They can't talk at all. That's that piece.
So that is incredibly true in too many of our classrooms. It is incredibly wrong that is the expectation of children. That is not the nature of children.
Exactly.
That is not the nature of humans in general. They say one of the things that makes us different from animals is that we have thumbs and we have the ability to think. But we also have the ability to actually speak with words and communicate.
Right.
Animals make noises. So there's some fundamental differences there.
You said in animals, we got to throw in too that you don't raise children, you raise animal, you rear and steer children.
Hello, Say that.
Definitely.
So for our brain science minute, neuroscientists tell us that the person in the classroom who is doing the most talking is growing the most dendrites, which are brain cells. Why is this the case? There are two reasons. First, when a person opens their mouth to speak, this action sends oxygen to the brain, which wakes up the brain and makes it more alert. Think about how alert your brain is after you've been sitting in a boring class or professional development all day long. Your brain does not want to be bored. So if you've been to, as a teacher, you've been to a professional development, teachers bring papers to grade. They're on their phones looking at Facebook because the brain needs the oxygen in which to do that, because your brain does not want to be bored. The brain has to be occupied. Oxygen is essential to your brain. That's why they talk about deep breathing. In fact, the clinical definition of being brain dead is when your brain has been deprived of oxygen for 3 to 4 minutes. So classrooms I've been in, particularly in middle school and high school, students are breathing, but it's hard to tell that they're breathing. They're figuratively brain dead. When the brain is not getting enough oxygen, one yawns. That's why yawning is contagious, which sends more oxygen to our brain. And it says note that you seldom yawn when you're actively engaged in a task. But when you yawn a lot more frequently, it's usually because you're bored. So in classrooms that are brain compatible, listen up, teachers, in classrooms that are truly brain compatible,
let them talk, get out of the boardroom.
Students, and you and I said that this same thing. We said this. Students don't have time to be bored because one of the things that engages their brains is excessive talking. Here's the key takeaway from that. Let them talk. Give them options. So they're not just talking about what they're going to do on a weekend or the latest Facebook drama. Make it a focused conversation. Once you have, the focused conversation, you could do, peer-to-peer sharing. You can have them grade each other's papers, throw a topic or a question out and let them talk about it back and forth. And then one of them present to the rest of the class what you talked about. Right. And then once they've completed whatever task that you have to assess, then give them free time to have conversation.
Let them unwind.
Allow them to unwind. So often our children text, so they're not talking. So meanings are missed. Feelings are missed in conversations that you're having, electronically, if you're not having an actual verbal conversation. Let's bring that into our relationships. Exactly. When you arguing with somebody back and forth in a text, a lot of the sentiment that you may be feeling doesn't come out because it comes out as anger. You may not be angry. You may be hurt. And you are misinterpreting what the person said to you. So then that makes you fly back with something else that they misinterpret. And so now we have this broken down conversation, which leads to a broken down relationship.
And that's one of the main reasons we decided to create the podcast, is to open the lines of communication, to have the conversations, to speak with love and engage with one another in that way. And lastly, before we close, I'm going to Lady Bounce is going to create a Facebook page where we can keep the lines of communication open and continue to converse. And yes. So we know in our from our mindfulness minute, Slate talk. Our mindfulness minute, we know to stay present, stay in the now. Our self-care, we know that we need to take time to unwind in order to move forward and keep these lifelines and legacies moving and going. And a part of being fly, first loving yourself, when we do that, it's better for us to love someone else and our children. There'll be a calendar up, 30 days of self-care on the Facebook page. Look for that. And we'll close with an excerpt from James Baldwin and Nikki Giovanni's Forgotten Conversation about the language of love and what it takes to be truly empowered. Baldwin said here that we got this far by means which no one understands, including you and me. We're only beginning to apprehend it. And you're a poet precisely because you are beginning to apprehend it and put it into a form which will be useful for your kid and his kid and for the world. Because we're not obliged to accept the world's definitions, we have to make our own definitions and begin to rule the world that way, because kids white and black cannot use what they have been given. He went on to say, it's a very mysterious endeavor, isn't it? And the key is always love. We want you to remember to fly. First, love yourself. I am A.Slate.
I'm Lady Bounce.
Peace out.
Take care.